I am the last of a breed. What I'm doing today is I'm going to dye and wax these traps. You know, it's a great thing to do in the summer. If you don't have anything else to do, there's nothing to hunt really. So I'm preparing for trapping season. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna soak them. This water is hot, but it's not quite boiling, and I wanna soak these traps just to get all the dirt, the nasty grime off. I'll soak them for a little while in that before I put lye inside, before I put lye into this water.
Dyeing and waxing traps is a key element to success, and one that Laramie learned from his uncles not to take lightly.
I'll let it sit and come back and check on it in a little bit. So these traps have been in here for about 45 minutes. What I'm gonna do, I'll just set these down. I'm going to dump some lye, and you can buy lye at any trapping store, Cabela's, wherever. I'm gonna put lye in there, mix it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna put them traps right back in and let them sit for another 40, 45 minutes. Back in the day, mountain men, they used walnut holes. They used a bunch of different things. And the whole thought process behind it is you don't want rust to weaken your traps. So that's why you boil them. You don't quite boil them, but you get water hot enough to where it's almost boiling. You soak them, you clean your traps, you dye them. It helps protect them from the elements, the rust, the weather. That's the thought process behind it. Then after I get done doing this, I will wax them. And the whole thought process behind waxing is to speed your traps up so they're smooth.
While it's a time-consuming process, it's one that will pay off later this fall.
You know, dyeing and waxing your traps can take a lot of time, but it is very crucial if you want to be consistent at catching critters, because your traps are just like anything. You know, your vehicle, if you don't maintain your vehicle, it's not going to work properly. Now I'll let it sit for a while, come back and check it here in 20, 30 minutes, make sure it's not boiling, and I'm going to get back to skinning. You know, when I'm trying to find places to set traps, I just kind of go off a feel. I'm walking through here trying to put myself as a coyote, as a bobcat, fox, wolf, whatever it is, and say, hey, for one, there's a game trail right here, so you know the critter's gonna be running up and down the game trail. So as I'm walking through here, I'm just looking to see a nice little hideaway place that a coyote might go check out, or a wolf, or fox, or bobcat, or whatever it is. It's all about feel and trying to think like those critters. Most of the time it's close to a game trail, a natural pathway, so you've already got to start. If you think you've never trapped in your life and you know nothing about it, if you can catch a mouse in your house, you've ever deer hunted, you got a pretty good start. It's just getting out there and trying it. There's kind of a natural little game trail right here, and there's been a couple coyote tracks and a bobcat track, and so what I'm gonna do is, you can see this kind of bare spot over here below this tree. I'm gonna make a dirt hole set right there, and then I'll probably go over there and make another dirt hole set. And that way I'm kind of covering on both sides of this game trail that the coyotes and bobcats are walking down, and hopefully I can get lucky. There's a lot of action in here though. This is a new place that I just found. It's along the river. Perfect, like a trapper's dream. Probably the biggest thing when you're trapping, especially canines or, you know, smart critters like that, is your scent. You have to keep your scent down. That's why I've got rubber gloves, rubber boots to help mask the human scent. And those animals make a living off their nose, so. And what I'm gonna do here is I've got 2 stakes, and I'm gonna drive them in at opposite directions. That way it's hard to pull out. And then I'm gonna do just like I do with all my sets. When I've got leg holds like this, is I'll put some parchment paper in the bottom, That's just to keep that frost off the trap, bottom and top. And right here you can see this is, it's called a dirt hole set for a reason. It looks like a mole or, you know, something digging back in the ground here. And that's where you set your bait, is back up in there. So coyote, bobcat, whatever it is, comes trotting down here, sees this, smells it, comes over to investigate, and then hopefully they step on your trap and kabloomy. So if you look, these are some brand new traps right here. I'll show you the difference and the reason that you dye them and take care of them. You see how dark black that is compared to shiny silver? You tell me which trap that critter's gonna see first. So not only does dyeing your traps help preserve them, it also helps camouflage them. I'm gonna do these next. So here's the last step. I'm gonna dip these, I've got wax, and I heated it up. You put water in there, you heat the wax up, the wax stays on the top. So that when you dip these traps, make sure you submerge them all the way and bring them out really slow. And if you take a look at that and look close, you can see there's just a thin film of wax on there. I'm gonna dip them again because there's a little too much wax right there. You know, the biggest thing about dipping these traps in this wax is it keeps your traps smooth, keeps them fast. When you're doing a lot of water sets, you don't necessarily need the wax, but I still like to wax all of my traps. I'm like Ricky Bobby, I like to go fast. So now that I got these traps waxed, dyed, waxed, I'll just hang them up, and you know, you could technically use them tomorrow, but I won't. It's the middle of the summer, so I won't use them till this fall. But as long as you let it sit for about 24 hours, let the traps cool down, you're good to go trapping.
One thing's for certain, when it comes to the mountains, Mother Nature is always in control. And that goes for trapping season too.
I do believe my trapping season for this fall is over. At least for beaver anyway. You look, there's ice. 3 inches probably, almost overnight. But what do? On to the next critter. I'm gonna pull all my traps. I'm gonna focus my attention on other animals. Old Mother Winter, you just never know. So you wanna be a trapper, huh? Some of the predicaments I get myself into. Well, I had a trap right there. I don't see the trap, but there's ice over the top. I could have caught a beaver under there, but I don't know. Have to dig it out and see, I guess. That right there is a pleasant surprise. I did not expect that. Whenever it's frozen like that, the last thing you want to do is try to take it out of the trap. You try to pull that apart, it'll rip all that fur. Your hide won't be good. I'll take it back to the cabin and dry it out. Then I'll take it out, skin her up. It'll eat good too.
There's no doubt that trapping is an art. Prepping your equipment, scouting, and running your trap line is a full-time job. But the final step before payday is taking care of your pelts.
You know, it's kind of funny because the mountain men were always known to have a pungent smell to them. And the whole reason they smelled was because of skinny beavers. because you have the beaver castor, and believe it or not, they actually use beaver castor in a lot of perfumes. I bet next time you females go to the store, you buy some perfume, if you look on it, it'll say it has beaver castor. Beaver was known as brown gold. You know, beavers are unique when you skin them. Most animals that you trap, you try to tube them out, and then you stretch them with the hide whole. You don't want to cut up the belly. Well, on a beaver, it's the exact opposite. You want to cut him from the tail to his bottom jaw, and then you peel it out, and that's why you see it makes a big circle. So you'll have a big, huge circle. That's why you'll see a lot of people either use hoops, or like I'm gonna do today, I'm gonna staple this beaver hide onto a piece of plywood, just so it stretches. You want it to dry stretched. Yeah, when you're skinning beavers like this, you don't have to be perfect. You can leave a little bit extra fat on there. Their hide is really easy to cut through, so you don't really want to nick it. And you're going to wind up fleshing it and get all this fatty grime off of it anyway. So take your time, but you don't have to be surgically perfect. You know, in the early 1800s, beaver was literally like gold. They used to use the beaver hides to make all your hats, anything that we use felt for nowadays, or silk, they used beaver hide for back then. And so that's how the mountain men got so famous, was because, you know, it was like a gold rush, but with beaver pelts. So all these young boys were going out west to trap for beaver, to make their fortune. Nowadays it's more of a labor of love, because the price of skins has gone down so much that, I mean, if you want to do it to make money, you're not going to make very much money, and it's a lot of work.
The time it takes to skin, flesh, and stretch your pelts varies depending upon the species you're trapping. While a muskrat may only take a few minutes, a big beaver can take even an experienced trapper upwards of 30 to 45 minutes. It's an honest man's job, and one that Laramie takes a lot of pride in.
You know, you don't want a knife to do this. You want something that, I mean, this has an edge on it, but you're just scraping that off. You don't want to cut into that hide. If you see right there, that's what I want to get it all down to. So you're just scraping this hide free of all the meat and flesh and outside membrane of that hide. Just about got this wrapped up, and now what I'll do is I'll staple it to a big piece of plywood stretched so it can dry stretched. Put a little bit of salt on it, and that way it's ready to tan. Once it dries, then I can start my tanning process. There's still a little bit on there, but I'll wait until after I get it all dried up to get the rest of that off. You know, so this isn't a very big beaver, and you know, if you were going to take them to market or whatever, they do what's called grading. This beaver would actually grade really well because you see how thick his fur is. He was caught in the middle of the winter, but it's not very big. You know, so you're going to get knocked for size, but I'd rather have good quality fur than big. You know, it's crazy because when I first started trapping, the price for beaver was higher than it is now. You know, now something like this is going to bring $15, $20. When I first started trapping, it'd bring $60. Supply and demand is going down. That's why trapping is becoming a lost art, because it's not worthwhile for people to do it anymore. It makes me sad.